Hey, 8th grade. Miss Lawson here. It's Monday, May 4th, and if you haven't done your good morning, hello, scholar survey, please pause this video and do that right now, and then you can come right back. I really quickly wanted to thank all of you for coming to tutoring on Friday. We had such a good turnout, which is great because it's a grade, and we're gonna draw one winner for an Amazon gift card. So regardless of the reason that you came, I was just so excited to see so many of your faces, or at least half your head in some cases. I just have really missed you guys, and that really made me in such a good mood going into the weekend. So I appreciate you guys, and I miss and love you guys. So besides that, we're going to kick off today's lesson. It is going to look a little different. It's not in a Google Forms format, so you're going to have to pay a little bit more attention to the details of how this assignment's going to get turned in, okay? So what we're starting today is called a documentary blueprint, and this is just part one of our blueprint, okay? And we're going to work on it in terms of me showing you how to do it today and tomorrow, but it's not actually due until Monday, May 11th. So I'll tell you more about that in a moment. So what is a documentary blueprint? It's a little different than a script. Documentarians, people who make documentaries, they don't make scripts, guys. How could they? Think about it. A script tells an actor how to move and what to say, but a documentarian can't do that because they're trying to make a non-fiction piece. So they don't want to necessarily tell the person in their film what to say and what to do. They're trying to capture the truth and how things would really happen. So yeah, they're planning, but it's much different than a regular filmmaker might plan. So instead of a script, they make something called a blueprint. And so I guess the way I want you to think about this is a blueprint is what an architect creates to design a building or a space, right? And an architect builds or designs the outside of the building and the walls, right? And the structure, but they don't decide the interior and what to put in it, right? So a documentarian is kind of like that in the same way. Like they know what the general structure is going to look like. They build that part. But what happens inside in terms of what they fill that space with, they can't always plan for so precisely. So they're just making a blueprint. They're not filling in that space yet. That happens later. Once they have all their footage and they edit it together, then they're sort of designing that inside space. So right now we're just thinking about our outsides. So your blueprint that we're going to create is due Monday, May 11th. And today we are really focusing on the foundation of our house, right? So tomorrow we'll kind of fill in the walls, if that makes sense. So we're just doing the very first part of our blueprint today. So again, before documentarians can make this detailed plan for their film, they have to think more generally about what they're trying to accomplish and what they want the viewer to get out of the film. So they're just kind of building up that foundation at first. They know their purpose, they know their theme, they know they want to invoke or evoke a mood in their viewer. But that's kind of the seed. That's what it starts with. And then they start brainstorming from there and asking, okay, well, what kinds of things could I include in my film to bring those ideas to life? So first, they would carefully consider what they want the reader to learn from their film. A lot of ideas for documentary come because a filmmaker just knows that they want the world to know something. So that could be because they're investigating an issue, because they see that the world is lacking something that they want to give people. It could be that they really want to teach people about and make them knowledgeable about a certain subject, right? But they basically know that there's something they want the viewer to learn or know and they're going to try to be the person to give that to their viewer. So we carefully consider our theme or central idea, what we want the reader to learn. And then after we have like what we want the reader to learn, that's very connected to our film's purpose. So the second thing we need to do is make sure that we know the film's purpose and that it can connect to this theme. So if I wanted, for instance, to teach my reader about drawing, for instance, then I'd need to decide, like, do I want to just teach my reader facts about drawing? Because if that's the case, then maybe my film's purpose is to teach the viewer step by step how to draw. But maybe my theme is more about how art can have a positive impact on people's life. So then maybe my film is more persuasive if that's my theme, right? And my purpose is more to persuade my audience. So I have to consider what is my theme, and then based off that theme, what is my purpose for making this film? And then finally I can start to think, okay, is this a happy theme? Is this a sad theme? Is this purpose serious? Is it more lighthearted? Okay, so based on those things, how do I want my viewer to feel as I watch? You know, if I'm trying to inform them about a really serious topic, then I might decide like, oh, I want this to have kind of a sad vibe. But if I'm trying to just be lighthearted and show them how to draw, then maybe I want this to have like a happy, chill vibe. And so I consider these three things. They're sort of the foundation of my blueprint, right? And after I know those things, I can start to think a little bit more deeply about the things that I need to include in my film to make my lesson's purpose and mood clear to my viewer. So what I mean by that is I can start thinking, who could I include in this documentary to help me fulfill these three things? What kind of music, lighting, what setting might I want to be in? How much do I want to play a role on or off camera? Are there certain colors I want to repeat? There's a lot that you could be brainstorming here. And I know that this is a lot, guys, to think about in one mini lesson. But the reason that I'm putting it all together like this is because we've actually already been thinking about all of these things for several weeks. So I really think we can do it. And I'm going to show you how. Step by step, this is how you're going to do this today. So your view of Google Classroom will look a little bit different. But basically, you are going to go in, you're going to see this video that I'm creating right now will be probably right here, and you'll have a couple other documents too. But you're going to go in and find today's assignment called Documentary Blueprint Template, but it's in this documentary projects material form. So you have to click on reading documentary project materials first. Then we've already done our documentary planning form, guys. We're clicking on documentary blueprint and we're opening that up, and it's going to look like this. And then because I don't want to, and you shouldn't have access to edit this, I need to make a copy. So I'm going to say file, make a copy, and then I'm going to take away this copy of part, and I'm going to retitle it documentary blueprint with my first and last name. And it's going to be in my drive because this is going to be due, the whole thing that we're working on today and tomorrow is actually going to be due next Monday, May 11th. So I want to keep this in my drive. So I'm going to click OK. And this is what it's going to look like plain. This is the only part you are doing today. You are ignoring this. We're working on this tomorrow, okay? So ignore this. We're only working on this today. So I actually already started a copy of mine. So here's mine filled in. So I'm going to go through it step by step with you. This is us building that foundation of our blueprint to make sure we're ready to go forward and kind of build up the walls before we start filming and editing, okay? So first of all, I threw in a little bonus in case you've already been thinking about this. If you still aren't sure on possible title, it's okay if you put something like unknown and figure that out later, but I thought it might be nice for you guys to go ahead and start. So I have included in your materials for today the copy of my own documentary that you should have seen in a previous mini lesson called Maybe I'm an Artist. And just so you know, I'm explaining to you how I brainstormed and created my documentary blueprint as I was planning for my own documentary. So this lesson is going to make more sense if you've seen that short video. I think it's only like 6 minutes. So if you go back and watch it, this will be less confusing and more helpful for you. Okay. So I went ahead, since I know my title, I went ahead and filled it in. Maybe I'm an artist. Then remember that first step, and some of you already have really clear themes or central ideas. So my first step is to come up with my theme or central idea. Remember, if I have something that's more to teach like a skill or like facts about the world, I might have just a central idea. Whereas if my film is more about like life lessons, then I might have a theme, and you know what? Sometimes I might have both. So, for my theme, as I was making this, or as I was thinking about making this, I knew that I wanted to think about my own journey as an artist and how like I used to think I wasn't really an artist, but then I started kind of feeling like I was, and so I knew I wanted to talk about that journey and evolution, but I had to think like, what do I want other people to take away from this film? I know I'm documenting myself, but what do I want them to learn through my experience? And so that made me realize that I wanted everybody to know that they could be an artist and that it's good for them, right? Even if um, their art maybe isn't considered great by everyone, right? So then I also wanted them to know that the value of art isn't really about like the product, the painting, how much money it sells for, what other people think of it. That I thought the value of art is really just based on what the artist gets out of it as they're creating it. You know, the fact that art makes people feel good. And so that was my theme or central idea. I knew I wanted to teach that lesson immediately, right? And then I knew mine wouldn't have very many like central ideas because it wasn't very fact-based. In fact, I even forgot to do the part on the rubric where I added a fact. So I messed up. I would have only gotten a 90 on this project. Then I thought about, okay, well, if that's my theme, then I can kind of use that to help me determine my purpose. And then I realized, oh, you know what? My purpose is going to be to convince people that they can be artists and that art is good for you. So, boom, I had my purpose, you know? There's so many possible purposes other than to convince people, but that was mine. And then from there, I was like, all right, I know that I have this kind of happy, good vibe. I know that I want people to be inspired. I want them to believe they can do it. I knew I was reflecting on my own experiences in a serious but chill kind of way. So I figured if that's what I want to do, then I know I want to create like a happy, reflective, and chill kind of feeling in my viewer. So once I had my foundation of my blueprint ready to go, guys, then I knew that I just needed to think about the components or the parts that I would need to include to make sure that I could create this mood and that these two things would come across to my viewer, my purpose and my theme. So I started thinking then a little more in depth about what this would actually look like. And I decided to help with mood. I would include like kind of a chill, upbeat song, and I was able to find that. I knew that if this was about my journey and I was using my journey to help convince people, then I needed to show them my own paintings, video footage of my painting space and of me painting. And I thought too about like what I have around me that I could use. I knew that, again, since this is me reflecting on my own journey and I was quarantined, I needed to interview myself. And I knew if I was going to do that, I needed a quiet, plain space to film. I knew I needed a bright space. I knew I'd probably want to narrate. And then there's these other few things. I basically knew that just showing footage of me painting was or showing my paintings was not going to be enough. I knew that if my goal was to convince people that they can be artists, and my theme was going to be about the value of art and you know, how art is for everyone, that I couldn't just do that with visual. I knew that I would need to be narrating and explaining my journey, both on and off camera. And I also knew that the visuals probably, I was thinking, could help build that. If they could actually see me painting and see someone who doesn't consider themselves an artist covered in paint and creating, that would really add to all these things. So then I started thinking, okay, well, I could use voiceover as I'm painting, or as my paintings are being shown. I could use footage of me painting, video footage of my paintings. But then I was like, ooh, but that's going to be really long. This is only 6 minutes and it takes me a while. So then I was like, ooh, I could include time lapse. So the reason I'm going through all of this with you guys is what I want you to understand is that knowing these three things started to kind of um, give me this picture in my mind of what this should look like. And it started to spur all of these thoughts of what I might possibly want to include. Yours might look very different, right? If I'm going with that drawing example from the beginning, it might be like, oh, I know I want to include videos of my drawings. I want to include pictures of my drawings. I want to interview someone else or myself about my drawings. I know I have different space than Miss Lawson to use. So guys, yours might be totally different. You might be investigating an issue. And so you might know that you want to interview multiple people, or you might know that you're not really going to show any images. But based on these three things, you can really start to know what you should or should not include in your documentary. So you're going to go ahead and go in today. Your goal is just to fill in this part, and then the title for now is optional if you know it already. Okay, so this part is your goal for today. Theme, purpose, mood, what I want or need to include. Tomorrow, we're going to take what you said here and we're going to start building our actual film scene by scene. So we're going to think, what is happening with the narration, visual, and sound from scene to scene? And we're going to try to use that to help us build this house, guys. Build this documentary. Okay, so real quick recap so you know what to do. What do I do now? Remember, you're going in. You're finding today's assignment called Documentary Blueprint Template. It is in your documentary project materials. So you got to click on that doc, then click the link for this. You're going to make a copy of it and retitle it Documentary Blueprint, and actually not this part, dash your first and last name, just like this. Then you're going to complete only that top portion. You can see that in the demo, which is what I just showed you. And then you're going to call me with questions because this is due in 3 weeks and it takes time to film and edit. So seriously, do this. If there's anything about this that you're in doubt about right now, this is the time to reach out to me, guys. It's pretty tough for me to call each and every one of you that I think might not have a plan. So it's on you to reach out to me. And then finally, just so you know, so many of you have asked me about how we're making this on Wednesday and Thursday. I'm going to focus on teaching you guys how to start editing using just apps that you can use on your iPhone or Android. So don't worry, that's coming this week so that you can start. But right now, you can still be collecting footage for your documentary, filming on your phone, finding photos, all of that, thinking about music can still be getting done right now. Okay, guys, so that's it for today, and I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your Monday. Bye.